Hey, I know you guys come here for the Raptors, but 3-2, the Blue Jays are up in the World Series. Trey Savage just spun a gem, I believe is the terminology they use in baseball. Two guys in Blue Jays jerseys. This podcast, for people who don't know, was dangerously close to being a Blue Jays podcast. And yet we chose the Raptors, who are 1-4. They've lost 4 in a row. They're averaging 130 points allowed per game over that sequence, over that little stretch. And I'm Samson Folk. This is the Pull Up Trey podcast. I'm co-hosting, and I'm joined, of course, by Trevon Heath, the Trey that pulls up. Trey, you tell me how you're doing, how you feeling.
Much better than 3 a.m. 2 days ago, I felt how bad life can be. You do a pod after 3 a.m. after getting your heart absolutely smashed, and I've sort of just decided, I've tweeted this out, like, the Raptors just aren't allowed to win while the Blue Jays are trying to pursue greatness, and eventually the tides will figure itself out once the season is done.
11:30, it feels like 4 p.m. in relation to 3 a.m. when we were recording.
Yep.
We finished off at 3:47 a.m. And not only we got a win here, just incredible. We're obviously not going to talk Blue Jays for that much longer. Oh, wait. We have an appearance.
Oh, yes.
Bosman splitter jersey, too.
Yes, exactly. For the listeners, we have Blake Murphy here live from LA right after. How you doing, man? 3-2 Blue Jays, and then some quick thoughts on the Raptors.
Yeah, I'm walking out of Dodger Stadium right now with voice of the 905, Ben Schulman.
Hell yeah.
I have no thoughts on the Raptors game tonight because I haven't watched it yet. It was really funny to have media people on the Blue Jays asking me about what's wrong with the Raptors. I thought they were supposed to be good this year. I don't know. I haven't diagnosed yet. No, this has been really fun though. What an awesome game! Really cool Trey Savage stuff. I'm going to watch the Raptors game on the flight home tomorrow, which doesn't sound like it's going to be a fun watch. But how are you guys doing?
The Raptors are bad, but
very.
can you give us any insights on the Blue Jays for the people who are obviously fans of both teams?
I certainly. Which way are we going? This way? Yeah, I mean, Trey Savage said after the game that he will mentally be ready for Game 6. I think physically he probably will be ready for Game 7. What do you got? Gosman Yamamoto on Friday. I'm terrified of Yamamoto, and he was almost Savage level good last time. No other insights other than that. George was available to pinch hit tonight, so hopefully he's available on Friday. That's about it. That's all I got for insights.
Okay, I have one more question for you.
David Snyder might change his batting stance again, he said, even though he homered today.
Okay. I have one more question for you regarding Trey Savage. There's a quote from the draft combine where he said, "I have a competitive nature. Put me up against 2 grizzly bears, and I'm not afraid." 100 gorillas versus Trey Savage. Who wins?
Those 100 gorillas combined for 300 swing and miss and 25 punches.
Yep.
And,
yes.
Yeah, they don't have a chance. They're drowning all 3 pitches.
Exactly. Yeah. Timothy Chalamet, your ass is out of here. Okay, Blake. We'll obviously do this more in depth once you're actually back to covering Raptors. Let's go, Jays. We'll let you get out of here. We'll see you.
All right, see you, folks.
See you.
We are here to talk Raptors. They 1-4. We had our exciting opening podcast of the season.
Mhm.
They beat the brakes off the Atlanta Hawks. And Cam asked that perfect question. Back then, it was the offense that was tough. It was wasted possessions against the Bulls and Alex Caruso, corner 3, if you remember it at all. Way back in the day, a steal on Pascal. And then this time around, we're looking at the defense, the front fell off. It's completely not there. Give me your perspective before I give some horrific stats that I think the listeners will enjoy, or if not enjoy, appreciate the context of.
It's tough. I spent at 3 a.m. complaining like, Darko, please stop sending them boys out and pressing. And the pickup point was much lower tonight than it was in any of the other games. But they still sucked. They weren't able to close off many possessions. Like, I think they covered ground a lot better just having CMB
Yep.
on the court relative to Jakob, who looks like he cannot move. But you need to be able to close off possessions. They weren't able to rebound the ball at all. The Houston is probably one of the biggest teams in the league. They're throwing out Sengun, Adams, Capella, who's larger than any center they have on the roster currently, who's healthy. I'm starting to get concerned just in the fact their guard play has not shown that they can stop anyone at the point of attack, even with a lower pickup. So you're kind of pointing to where's that lineup that you can find that can win minutes even in a pinch, because right now they haven't been able to keep anyone below 140, which is sickening to say.
I think the craziest thing probably is the fact that, if they had lost to the Rockets and they had won a game here or there on the route here,
Yeah.
and let's say Emmanuel quickly has Amen Thompson dogging him, I'm like, you know what? Chalk it up to the game. That's not so
Mhm.
bad. However, when it's Cole Anthony, when it's D'Lo, when it's D Harper, when it's Devin Vassell, and then it's Amen Thompson
Yeah.
and the wing bastard defenders of the Rockets and a team that's going to be very good. I literally right after the game had a debrief with a Rockets scout about what we were seeing. Other teams are worried about what they're seeing for the Toronto Raptors, and I'll say this this Raptors team, if it keeps going like this, and it could just be exacerbated in the land
Yep,
of
of
the
course.
Giants. It could just be exacerbated in the land of the Giants, but if it keeps going like this, Darko probably will get fired. He, this
1000%.
this this is the kind of stuff that loses a guy his job. Not only have they allowed four straight in the last, or allowed 130 points in all of the four losses, but they are now second last in defensive rating in the NBA. When we talked, we were surprised. We're like, oh, they're 17th. That's way better than you would think. Are
Yeah.
we? I believe we're only one. Is it 2 games removed? 1 game removed?
We're
Just one?
we're
One
just
game
one, yeah.
removed from that. Oh my days. It's early season. These
Mhm.
things get swung quickly. But also, to your point, astute job of you noticing, point guard eyes, watching the game. The Raptors were the last in the NBA in points per chance on drives coming into this game. They're now 24th because they were much better guarding drives in this game because they
Yeah.
had a more mobile lineup. They were getting in front of guys. They were switching and stepping up, more seamless rotations. CMB is obviously going to help with that. Except they got out rebounded by more than double. That I
Insane.
don't rem I don't remember the last time I witnessed that, but it's not good. And to this, well, I guess I'll just ask you, do you wanna get into do you wanna spend 5, 6 minutes doing what we did last year, which is complaining about the defensive scheme and the pitfalls of it? We have some stats if you
I
wanna
think
get into it.
I think people wanna see us complain.
Okay.
We've had a lot of hopium in the last summer. So, of
We've they still have time to prove things.
course.
However, okay, so they are near the bottom of the NBA in defense. They were here last year, and you and I talked about how they were ill suited to play the defensive scheme.
Yep.
Then we get a run at the end of the season. Let's revisit that.
Yep.
So, just some stats. So, these aren't for this game. This is after 4 games, but with coming into this game, the Raptors were allowing more points per possession on press plays than the 30th ranked team last season. So they would have ranked the worst in the NBA.
Yeah.
With zero backcourt defenders, they're playing better. Their defense has been better when they're not pressing. With two or more backcourt defenders, 1.282 points per possession. That is almost 1.3. That is, if for people who don't know,
Dog
that
water.
is per 100 possessions. That's 130 points, and that would be a historically bad defense. I tell you what, and that almost tracks to the Raptors' defensive rating. You know, with tracked pressure on the bring up ball handler. These are second spectrum or genius sports stats. 1.277 points per possession. IQ, it's 1.2 when he's the guy. RJ, 1.3.
Hey.
Ochai, 1.17, almost 1.2. There hasn't been an answer in terms of bring up ball handler that works. I don't have Jamal Shedd's stats right on the docket here, but his isn't good either.
Yeah.
So nobody has been able to do the corralling. They haven't been able to set the terms at the point of attack defensively, and they certainly don't have a backline defender in Jakob Poeltl, and a combination of Jakob and Scottie probably was the hope to clean things up. The end result here so far has been one of the worst defenses in the NBA. They're in contention for the very worst right now. How do you feel?
Obviously, I think Jakob will be healthy at some point, and if they decide to still be more conservative, Jakob and Scottie backline is tremendous in terms of rim protection, and that should even itself out. Where I do have concern is you look down the roster and you try to figure out, and you can see it in the lineups that Darko's trying to throw out there. There isn't a linchpin in between the backcourt that you can make lineups where RJ and IQ are together, even Brandon Ingram to some degree, like tenable, because they're being asked to guard high level players. Emmanuel Cookie is going to be asked to guard Donovan Mitchell in a few days, and there isn't any other option to avoid them being in those situations, which just goes to show in some of their construction in terms of their roster and just the lack of options they have from the guard side. So I'm concerned in that point of view. They've had to lean on Jamal Shead probably way more than they anticipated.
So the drives are a good indication here. The Raptors, they're getting torched on both frequency and efficiency. As I said before last game, they were dead last in the NBA in driving efficiency. There's a bunch of reasons why. This is, via closeout. This is via, coming around a pick. This is via, quote, miscellaneous, which means that the Raptors picked up, got beat, and nothing happened. They just got beat in the open court. And the thing here is they're not generating passes out of drives. They did more so in the Houston game, but it's because the Raptors are sending help really early. They're overloading and getting beat, and then everyone else is staying home. And it's just like these one-on-one drives to the rim where a ball handler is getting to score. Or a big, bigs are scoring the hell out of the basketball against the Raptors, man. I tell you what. But the Raptors, they overload, they miss. I guess just like yeah, they have bad point of attack defense. They're getting shredded on drives. Okay, good. We have it figured out. Nice. Enough of the stats. They're getting absolutely shredded. They're one of the worst in the league. The blind doubles kill me, dude. And they're not good at it. I understand you want this like semblance of chaos defense that's super aggressive, but having RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly more so than any other guy like hunt these doubles. Their success rate is what, 3% currently, and the points per possession, the points that the other team is getting out of it are just these monster numbers. When the Raptors are tracking back to overload, you see guys doing like circular patterns on the court looking for a man for them to defend. They have no idea, man. They break themselves out of rotation without even making the offense work for it, and then they scramble around as they allow a layup. It is nonsense. It's complete nonsense.
I think you saw it with how Jabari Smith was able to attack essentially every overload that they had. If you have requisite shooting, Houston's not even a good shooting team. If you're not corralling any drives, you're going to create these rotations, and if you're overly willing to do so, shooters are going to punish that. And Jabari Smith was even able to put the ball down on the floor, be able to score and create. And even when you do overload and you create these random mismatches for yourself defensively, that's how Emmanuel quickly ends up on Jabari Smith, and he gets an easy dunk, and he looks like Victor Wembanyama for a quarter. It just becomes it becomes a lot harder for yourself defensively when you don't or have the requisite talent manufacturing chaos that isn't even there, which makes things tough. You already have seen a defensive system where those Knicks players have excelled in, and you're asking them to do something that they don't have the requisite talent to do. That's the tension I'm seeing with Darko. I still enjoy the way that he approaches basketball. I think it's cutting edge, and the way that some of the best teams are playing, but they have a roster issue in terms of how they want to play. And a sign of a good coach is being able to adapt towards that.
Yeah, okay. So I'll give a good example of the roster issue. So there are two really different approaches to what pressure looks like in the two finals teams last year. Oklahoma City, they're a team that helps a lot. And basically, they're going to blitz so many things. And the guy who's getting out of the action, who got caught up on a screen, if he's just not sticking on the screener, they're going to blitz. And somebody from another part of the floor is going to try and attack the pass out of the blitz, is going to try and blow up plays. And if that guy misses, the guys who were blitzing are already busting their ass back into the play, and they're constantly scrambling. And they have guys like Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, like guys like Aaron Wiggins do it. Shea does it.
Yeah.
They have not only they have J Dub, like they have all
Yeah.
NBA
They have the
defenders
talent.
throughout. They have the talent and they have the intensity and they have the will. They managed to do all that. The Pacers, another team with a lot of pressure, they don't help. The Pacers have Andrew Nemhard, Ben Shepherd, and Aaron Nesmith. Those guys don't get help on drives, but those guys are some of the stickiest point of attack defenders, best screen climbers in the NBA. The Raptors have none of the above, and they are trying to
Yeah.
mimic portions of each. They
Mhm.
aren't able to accomplish either, and it makes their defense look like a rebel without a cause.
Yeah.
You are trying to disrupt, you are not able to. You're trying to catch up, you're not able to. It it has shown very little sense of working. And we both like Darko. I like Darko as a
Yeah.
guy. I think I appreciate Darko, but here's the thing. It's what I talked to Joe Mazzulla about. If it's, bending the team, the play style to the roster and that push and pull. And you and I wondered a lot last season if that roster could manage this. And they didn't for a long time. And then they made their run. And then
Yeah.
we said, okay, well, he's an NBA head coach. We're schlubs. And again, I'll
Still
say
true.
we don't rate
Yeah.
ourselves too
Still
highly,
true.
Still true. It does not seem like this roster. It's early days, it's 5 games, but since we saw so much of it last season, it reverting right back, and you look at the roster thinking, "Do they have the guys who can really do this?" I have trouble forecasting that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, said this all something like defensively. It's hard to figure out who's going to be that point of attack defender that helps across the board. I think that the challenge is, and maybe the thought process from Darko is that they did not expect the offense to be able to score as easily as it has been. Some of that's been just incredible shot making, which will probably normalize itself. But I think the only way to make IQ and RJ backcourt like tenable is leaning in on your rim protection, being willing to weak drives and allow penetration to create mid range jumpers and be okay with that. That probably means that you're not getting out in transition as much. You're playing a much slower style of basketball, but you can't give up 140 points. You have to work with the roster that you currently have. And Emmanuel quickly has not shown for he's been on the team for nearly 2 years that he can do what you're asking for them. I would lean into the strengths that they do have and what they've been successful in on other teams.
I'll add as a final note on the defense because we've done a decent amount of complaining about it, and we still
Yeah,
need to see more. We need more data, we need more film.
100%.
But I will say that when I see them peel switching and I see them staying connected and I see the way they're able to stop the ball a little bit more often in this game against the Houston Rockets, I do still see it more often from CMB and Scottie
Yeah,
than
of
I am
course.
seeing it from the other guys. RJ, IQ, and Brandon, I thought still lagged behind in that. And CMB, as the quarter went on, the first quarter in particular, I thought his legs kind of got away from him. He looked like a little bit fatigued. even when they're doing it and I can see it's better, it's hard to envision it over a long period of time and with those guys. The buy-in, it's kind of been crazy to see it wane within 5 games. By
Yeah.
game 3, it looked like they're losing effort there, and that's pretty surprising. It
Yeah.
wasn't just Darko giving lip service to this defense in training camp in the
Mhm.
offseason. It was the players as well. And some of that stuff is just from on high in the organization. These are talking points. This is kind of what we want to do, but it's been disappointing. As you said, we have offense. And they have actually become a top 10 offense. They're a top 10 offense already. And it is a little bit in the same vein as the Fred VanVleet team that was 14th in offense, because the half court offense is about average, and credit to them, man. But they
I'll
are
take that.
yeah, they're playing in the half court like bottom 4 in the NBA, right? They just play a lot in transition. And that's a credit to them. Off of loose balls, they do it. Off of rebounds, they do it. They inject transition as much as they can. But I'll tell you this, you can still maintain this stuff while having a good defense. And I would even go so far to argue that having a good defense makes it easier.
Oh,
And
I would agree.
the Raptors are a team that, because of their hit ahead principles and the fact that they have like Brandon Ingram, IQ, RJ Barrett, Scottie Barnes, whoever, it could be CMB, it could be Jamal Shed, whoever, Gradey plays pretty good in the open floor.
Mhm.
All these guys flipping the ball ahead, you feel pretty good.
Yep.
So you're a transition team that isn't completely dependent on live ball turnovers because you can get it off of rebounds. So instead of trying to freak out and blind double all the damn time, how about you try and get a stop and start flinging hit ahead passes? How about that? Oh my God. Frustrating, dude.
Yeah.
This defense, man.
It's been brutal, and you could feel the pressure across the board, like organizationally, from literally the GM down is being evaluated
Mhm.
on this season. So every loss feels massive right now because they've made such a large bet and investment on this team. Like, you look at their next 4 or 5 games, they're all playing teams that made the playoffs. You cannot start 1-6, 1-7. That you're already looking at, should you pull the plug on the team that early. So it's they need to make changes, and they need to make changes immediately.
And this is, and like, here's the thing, when you see the lack of buy-in from the players, then you can do it. But they have had buy-in in spurts, and you can see it, and it still doesn't look that great. So it's up to the coach with a team that fit is a concern for the GM. It's also a concern for the coach. And unfortunately, it lies at the coach's feet if the GM does a poor job to try and concoct
Yeah.
ways to win. Listen, Darko, he didn't have a hard job the first, what, 3 years?
Yeah.
He didn't, or 2 years? He didn't have a hard job. He was supposed to lose games. He came into a doomed team where, there's all this hubbub about everybody. They traded it for parts. Now they've brought in parts. Now his job is hard, and he has to meet the moment, finding solves and fixes. A lot of coaches, good coaches, do. We like a lot of great coaches find fixes that are not apparent to guys like you and I.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's not the fix. Sometimes it's a little bit more specific. But it's on the players, it's on Darko. And then if it is really bad, then it's on the upper brass to maneuver. But this is a taxed team. If
Yeah.
their butt, if their ass, this thing will get torn for parts. Like
Immediately. Yeah.
they paid for the team. They did. But if they don't figure it out, they're happy to unpay for it because the check doesn't cash on that until the end of the season.
Mhm.
And if they can, I'm sure they'd love to save a little money. They said goodbye to Masai, the same daygum reason. Let's talk offense. They're playing fast, yes. They're 7th in pace in the NBA. That might get updated by NBA stats. I don't know if it'll be static, but they're playing fast. So Scottie, 22 points per game, 63% true shooting, 4.4 assists, He's 53, 55, 75. So 53% 2-point, 55 from 3, 75% from the line. So we'll get into the deeper stats later, actually. So Scottie, 63% true shooting, 22 points per game, 4.4 assists. Ingram, 64% true shooting, 22 points per game, 3.6 assists. RJ, 66% true shooting, 19 points per game, 3.2 assists. And CMB punching in with 10.7 points per game on 60% true shooting. This is hyper efficiency from the forward glut of the Raptors. Has this surprised or shocked you?
It's just as surprising as the defense, honestly. Like the level of shot making that they've been able to do. Like both RJ and Scottie are shooting at an insane clip from three. And I think what's still promising, because the shooting will definitely normalize. I don't think Scottie Barnes is going to shoot Ray Allen type clips.
Well, I'll give you a fun
Go
stat
ahead.
for every player here. Obviously, CMB shooting 60% from 3. Listen, man, I wish. We'll talk
Yeah.
a little bit more about him later. RJ, 18 of 25 at the rim, 74%. You hope that actually sticks a little bit. Ingram, 19 of 31 on his pull-up middies, 61%. You hope that kind of hangs around there. Scottie, 5 of 8 on his pull-up threes. Just heat pumps, all of them with the jumper. Unbelievable.
Just insane. I think with Scottie, I think the biggest thing I still would say with his approach is, although he's been hitting threes, I it still hasn't been the largest portion of his game. He's still has been willing to go inside, work as a roller, be active inside, and that was one thing that was lacking last season, especially from just an over reliance on some of the mid range stuff that you wanted to see. And all of that still is there from the things that he experimented, but they're getting in transition. What I've really loved from him this season is that he's been willing to run downhill and be a quick seal for anyone on the team and be able to get the ball, get to the line, or score in transition. It's just easy ways for a guy that big to score. So I think a lot of the stuff that he's doing in between the 3-point shooting will be able to hold. And honestly, like if he maintains doing that stuff, he can sleepwalk to 20%, still be efficient without his 3-point shooting being as high as it is now.
I'll also say huge credit to Scottie. He's doing this while the Raptors are in this portion of like playing the Giants.
Yep.
I know the broadcast has been throwing up all these are like the 4 biggest teams in the NBA. And then if you include like the Hawks and the Cavs as well, it's like every team is massive. Every team has been huge. And that means that the paint is sealed off in the half court more often for Scottie. And he's responded by shooting 55% from 3. He's responded by hitting jumpers over the top, right? Like his
Yep.
dribble jumper, even. I can just pull up the stats here. On dribble jumpers, he's got a tidy little 5'8" from downtown. And it's not as good in the 2-point area, like not at all. But he's shooting 100% on his catch and shoot threes in the mid range. That's the zone busting. That's all that kind of stuff. The catch and, beat over the top. He is hitting the paint, catching at the wing, pushing forward when the seams are available to him. He's shooting over the top and has been hyper efficient doing so when it's not. This type of resiliency, this is, we get dangerous with this verbiage. Everyone busts my ass because he had a bad preseason. But this is the realm of stars. Stars have this kind of thing. Undeniable aspects of his game. This is what we talked about, and you really championed last year. It wasn't pretty to watch the jumper all the time, but it makes him more versatile going forward. You just hope that it's not too much of his game.
Yep.
Right now, offensively, the assists need to go up. They're going to be lower this year if he's the outlet guy in transition more often, but the assists need to go up in the half court probably. But offensively, I think he's been quite creative, quite successful. And Scottie, good on you. He will be a part of a team. He plays like this. Whenever it happens, he'll be part of a winning team in Toronto. When we will win again in Toronto, Masai, that was like 42 games is what he meant.
Oh man, and then he kept saying it. I was like, oh man, I'm not buying it, man. It doesn't hit the same after the third time he said it. We lost
It's
to the
like,
Bulls.
yeah, It's like if a guy got really lucky with,
Yeah.
like, some sorta, like, game he was spitting, and
Yeah.
you only saw it. It's like your uncle or something, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be about women. It's like you saw your uncle do something, he's like, "Yo, I'm like that." And you're like, "Damn, uncle can do that."
Yeah, he's him.
If you didn't go down to the basement to hang out with the other kids, if you just stayed there, you see the uncle was doing that all day, and you're like, "Damn, man." You know what I mean?
It just isn't the same, but offensively, you see the vision of where they want to go. Like they have multiple ball handlers, several guys that can attack the rim quickly. Like I still think his process off ball is exactly where you want to be. He hit a few shots within transition above the break, which is great to see. Just quick ways for him to score overall. And then like Ingram is that that fulcrum that you can use to bust any defense and use as the guy that you hand the grenade to, and he'll be able to create out of several different spots. They've needed a guy like that since they've traded Pascal Siakam. So I I love what I'm seeing here. Like I don't think they're going to maintain a top 10 defense just because they don't have the shot making to do so, but they have a chance of still being like an above average offense as long as they continue to play in the style that they're doing.
So there was like two things that you and I really wanted last year that we would harp on constantly is pull up shooting, right? Obviously,
Yep.
everyone wants pull up shooting, and you wanted paint touches. The Raptors are scoring the hell out of the basketball in the paint, and I'll just give you the numbers as a team on pull up jumpers. Pull up middies, they're shooting 47%. Okay. Brandon Ingram has made 19 out of the 25 available. That's obviously notable. As a team, they're shooting 40.5% on pull up threes. Scottie's made a third of those. This, they've like, is if you were just looking at the statistical analysis of what they addressed, you'd be like, oh, two extremely important things offensively. And they did. Unfortunately, the defense is like the worst in the league right now, and
Yeah.
that's really hard to avoid.
Yeah.
And I wonder how the offense gets affected when perhaps pace changes or they play differently, and maybe it's a bit less transition. I don't know, but
Mhm.
my God, man, the
Yeah.
defense has to be addressed. There's no getting around it. The Raptors, are we missing anything here?
No.
Is
No, I think offensively that makes sense. I obviously want to still see more Grady Dick across the board, just because their shot making will normalize to some degree, and some of the lineups that did have some success included him tonight, just because he's another guy that can work off multiple actions, that has his own unique set of plays that he can work off curl actions. He can get a pin down. You can run a flare through him, and it just gives you more options offensively. Like Jamal Shed, in terms of like his processing, much better than last season. Like he offers more pace than Emmanuel Quickly, just because he's willing to go downhill. He adds to the tempo that they're willing to do. So like he's while I there's still sub in terms of like how he ends these plays and how he gets there. The pacing that he adds to the team has been really nice to see. So uh, I think in terms of their rotation minutes, if you're not going to be able to get stops, you need to infuse some of these lineups with guys that can help the cause also.
for everybody who listens to this podcast regularly knows that I've complained about Jamal's defense and thought it was overrated by the consensus media or analysts or fandom or whatever. But I have always said he's quick and he can get to spots on the court and he's
Yeah.
not a bad passer. The path to me for Jamal Shed is as like a tempo guard, and that would be not a WNBA guard. I don't, like as a guard who brings a great deal of tempo to the offense.
So
And
his
go
path
ahead.
is Ish Smith. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
no, 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 no. Ish Smith, too many mid-range
It's
jumpers. Uh,
quick guy. Oh man.
he was fast. You could
Yeah.
use him in NBA 2K and it wouldn't hurt you nothing.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Grady thing coming into this past game, I don't know what it is now. I kept looking at it and wondering, like, I don't know why Grady's not getting a shot because obviously he's not good defensively. But again, Jacoby was +7 this past game. Grady was a +2. Everyone else on the roster was a negative. Gradey is still leading this team in a team that has lost 4 in a row and is getting the piss kicked out of them. He still has a big plus on the season because when he's been out there, he's won minutes. Now, plus minus is mostly a team stat. The only thing this says to me is not that Grady's good, but just that he's not tanking the team
Yeah.
and he's not tanking the defense when he's out there. The defense is actually better when Grady's out there. It seems like an oxymoron almost. But to this point, to quickly move on to the rookie portion of this podcast, Gradey was last on the team in touches per minute. They are using him mostly as like you dribble near him, he cuts away from the play to create motion in the defense, and you know the team is going to guard him. And if he gets the ball, maybe he gets the ball. And that was my vision of that was what I was seeing. Now, and I think he's probably like, I can't imagine he has terribly easy shot attempts. You know what I mean? On this team.
Yeah.
I would think they're quite difficult. But all this to say, he just missed his shots tonight. And you can't. And I don't envy the position he's in. I don't think it's an easy one. But man, if he wants to make it on this team, it seems pretty clear to me. Make
Yeah.
contested shots, facilitate spacing for the offense, don't screw up on defense. And if you do, try and make sure that Darko isn't looking. I don't know if that's going to change. But honestly, like Gradey, he just hasn't hit enough shots the past few games. I don't want to give him too staunch of a defense here. Like he should get minutes. We'll see, but you got to hit your shots, man. Got to be more consistent. A guy who's hit his shots 60% from 3, Colin Murray Boyles. This is the last portion of the podcast. We're talking about this rookie class. They have been unbelievable.
Incredible.
So we've talked before, and there's a clever little Trevon Heath thing in our tier list where he said there's a good now, good later player here called Colin Murray Boyles. It looks like that might be the case. Colin looks good, and it looks like you'll be able to see him as a positive player in year 1, which is rare. Now, to this point, VJ Edgecombe, Cedric Coward, Colin Knippel, and Dylan Harper. 4 guys right now who have been huge pluses for their team. Not just like, we'll get into their stats and this class overall. Trey Johnson fits in here, but he isn't a plus because he plays on the Wizards. All these guys are winning minutes and playing a lot of them, and this is pretty damn rare for a draft class. Cedric Howard, you would think, is probably the biggest surprise there because VJ is number 3, Con is number 4, Harper's number 2, yeah. But not if you listen to the Pull Up Trey podcast that loved Cedric Howard out of the draft. In fact, we loved a lot of these guys out of the draft. What have you made early on of this draft class?
The Caribbean, we're producing superstars. Jesus. Look, the Sixers just did not deserve this. The early results from this is looks like they have their starting backcourt for the next 10 seasons. Just
Maxi's
because
so sick.
The way that both of those guys play off of each other and the way that VJ can take on all of the defensive responsibilities that Maxi doesn't have to do, which is what we would have loved for Emmanuel Quickly. He can do all of those things.
Tyrese deserves it more than Emmanuel, man. Come on. Come on.
Well, couldn't have been us. Couldn't have been me. But he's been special in terms of everything he does on the court, both defensively, he's hitting threes, and some guys from college. Donovan Mitchell is a perfect example of this, where you don't see the creation and driving skill until you see them on a larger court. And now that you see him with more spacing, the athleticism pops in ways that didn't even show in Baylor. And he was a mega athlete in Baylor. So this rookie class, just in general, Colin Knippel, he's a guy where we're if they pick him, I guess it's just you eat your vegetables and be happy with it. But
we had I can't remember their name, but in live chat somebody was telling us they said very matter of factly Con is a top 4 pick, and you and I hadn't considered it much because there's so much talk about Ace.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, you and I both liked Con better than Ace. I wish I could give them credit for it. by the way, listeners, we do give credit. You say something smart, we love to
Yeah.
shine a light on it. But Con, I mean, he came around. You and I, VJ was my number 2 prospect.
Yeah.
Dylan was my number 3. We loved Cedric Howard, and we also loved Trey Johnson. Can I give you the stats here of these guys?
Yes, sir.
So VJ Edgecombe, whom the podcast loved, supported greatly. Also, there are executives around the league. A few of them listen to the Pull Up Trade podcast. We got props for the VJ Edgecombe love because he's like, oh yeah, that's a guy. 22 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 47, 43, 79 splits. Insane. Cedric Howard, 16.5 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 70, 64, 92 splits. Yes, you heard that correctly. That is 70% field goal, 64% three, 92% from the line. His jumper looked incredible in the tape. That's what made me think that the mid-major stuff didn't really matter because he was so athletic, so long, and so smooth. I was like, well, he'll make this shot at any level. And guess
Yep.
what? That shot making is popped the fuck off, dude. Insane. Con Knipple, 16 points per game. 4.3 rebounds, 2 assists, 52% field goal, 53% from downtown. And we also begrudgingly said, like, Con is definitely a better prospect as the white guy coming out of college
Yeah.
than Gradey was. It's been very apparent early on.
That's a fact.
He's got a little bit of that farm boy body on him, you know?
He does. He throws a little weight. He got a
Yeah.
little. He's got a little Brunson in him where he'll wiggle some tail.
Wiggle some tail. I never heard that saying in my life. Wiggle some tail. Oh, that's a good one.
He does it in multiple in multiple spots. Like this rookie class has been great. And like C and B in general, while I think he was going to be really good offensively, he's figured it out much quicker. And I know hitting shots makes figuring that out easier.
Mhm.
He's been incredible. He's gotten to a point where he's a fixture in the lineup. It's probably the first guy off the bench when Jakob is back.
Yeah. Just to the other stats, Dylan Harper, 14.8 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 48, 33, 86 splits. His driving game is incredible. He's a guy who, like, if you slow it down and you watch how he's processing the floor, you realize how special it is. And it's kind of like I've watched a lot of Ron Harper Jr. I've talked to Ron Harper Jr. I like Ron Harper Jr.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know what happened, but Dylan got some gifts that Ron just did not. Dylan can move in some ways, man.
He's been in. I expect him to be great. But do you think the Spurs regret trading for De'Aaron Fox in hindsight now, just considering how good Dylan Harper is?
I think you and I might be like on wax on this podcast already saying that they potentially would.
Yeah.
And they might. But here's the thing too. They're just fledgling now. If they do get into a playoff series, De'Aaron Fox helps.
Yeah.
Now, and they will be able to pivot probably at some point. Like, I don't think he becomes a monstrosity. Now, does he allow them or does he inhibit them from building perhaps the way that the Thunder did? Yes. He's a different type of contract. He's a different type of guy, and he's not but also, he's not doomed. And maybe he becomes a guy who threatens with a live dribble and as a release valve, as a mid-range shooter, becomes really great because Wemby has the greatest of all time rolling gravity, right? And Wemby, if you're in close proximity and you work in the mid-range, maybe you have different types of passing avenues to feed the greatest roller of all time. I don't know how that partnership's going to develop, but there's potential.
Yeah,
But also, they might regret it,
Yeah, it's challenging. Like it feels very similar to Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, where like Luka takes an even larger step when they trade for Porzingis, and it doesn't work out in the way where you're feeding this guy the ball and your younger guys working through him. Wemby's taken another step, and you don't want the ball out of his hands. You want guys to play around him. So it becomes more of a challenge of asking De'Aaron Fox to do things that he hasn't been doing his entire career. But
I hated watching Porzingis in Dallas. I hated it. I hated the way he played. And Rick Carlisle lied about post-ups just to tell him to please stop posting up. And then he went to Indiana and they ran like a shit ton of post-ups.
Yeah.
Trey Johnson, 14.8 points per game. Shout out Baker. I know Baker listens.
Yep.
Our dear friend Baker. He loves his boy Trey J. 14.8 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 45, 39, 100 shooting splits. Also, a lot of these prospects, scout them. Josh Codenera,
Yes.
a stamp here. He was at the game, and he takes the picture of CMB guarding out there. He's like, first time I seen him live since he was in high school. Come on, man. That's so cold. So cold. Can I get a ranking so far on these guys? And then
I
we'll
think
talk CMB.
Yeah, I think it's VJ, and it's not close.
Ooh, with a bullet.
I'm gonna say Khan second. I've been really impressed of how professional of a scorer that he looks like. I'm actually going to say CMB third in this. I think the defense and how he played on Wemby. Wemby still scored a bunch of points, but his physicality, the way he covers ground, his feel offensively, and his handle and finishing at the rim, which are two things I thought would be kind of a challenge in translating, have translated. So he looks like he's going to be a winning player like fairly easily. And then I would go Harper, Trey Johnson.
Okay. Also, Cedric Coward. Where are you putting
Oh,
Coward?
Cedric Coward. Jesus, I forgot. I'd have him above CMB. You'd be third
Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
So my ranking so far, VJ with that bullet. Then I'll go Harper,
Okay.
Con, CMB, Coward, Trey. Now Coward, I think it's because I expect like he had the historic. I didn't miss a shot. He had the Davis Schneider start to his career. You know where he's like, I'm Babe Ruth,
Yep.
reborn. I don't. It won't stay there, but I just listeners, if you heard us as like draft analysts working, we love all these guys.
Yep.
So even being ranked last, we still love you. We loved Trey Johnson in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
We were very early being like, this guy's better than Ace Bailey. Maybe that doesn't happen, but that's how we feel and felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coward then Trey. Let's talk about CMB a little bit more intimately. We had a great question from ND Talks Ball. He was asking, why so little on the rebound numbers here? Like, why aren't we seeing something a little bit more impressive? And when I look at that, I say he's usually being tasked with guarding the biggest guy. So it's kind of that Brook Lopez thing where he's just trying to box out and create a gap for a guard to come in and fill. Obviously, that didn't work at all against the Rockets because the idea that a guy like RJ or Brandon is going to fill better than Tari Eason or Amen Thompson is just like good luck, man. Trying to deal with, Gradey guarded Steven Adams on a possession. Brandon Ingram guarded Steven Adams on a possession. He had 9 offensive rebounds, by the way. Jesus Lord. Anyway, I think that's part of it, but I also still think CMB, the one thing that hasn't really translated, he's had tough shots at the rim. He's missed some stuff. I think the forearm strain probably matters a little bit here, but his hands haven't translated yet. And his hands are like the number one outlier thing that he has. If you look at his hands are like devastating. You look at 5 years of draftees and you say like that guy probably is the guy with the mitts on him. He hasn't been able to grab stuff in his first 3 games as an NBA player. Rebounds have slipped out of his hands, steals have slipped away from him, and loose balls have. And there's been a couple things he's left on the rim. He had the best hands I've seen since we started watching draft prospects together. I believe it comes around. I think it's missing, and I think you'll see those rebounding numbers go up. I think you'll see the steals go up, all this kind of stuff. But as you and I talked about, the thing that makes Scottie different than CMB, and even though CMB has a much more advanced handle and, it's the relatively similar concerns of their 3-point shooting come out, Scottie's bigger and has more vertical pop, and that erases some worries. And CMB, that's still a question mark at this point. Am I
Yep, for
missing on
sure.
anything, or does that hit for you?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And also just the way they play defense, it's very chaotic and you're covering tons of ground. So you're just more susceptible to offensive rebounding. They you're trying to peel out to three, and then you have to try to box out Steven Adams when you're trying to recover. It's just an insane task. So Yaka, please rest. Icy hot. Please take naps, meditate, because they need you badly.
It's it would be really bad luck because you and I, I went back and watched it today.
Mhm.
Emmanuel Quickly's signing. We talked about it, myself, yourself, S, and Lewis. And I don't know if you and I reacted to it in live. Well, we did ourselves, and we were like,
Yeah.
that's steep, man. And obviously you and I were skeptical,
Yeah.
not of IQ the player, but of him as a lead guard. And to my
Yeah.
mind, it looked like he got paid as one. But you said, you know, you think about, and this is like I'm paraphrasing here,
Yeah,
but
of
you
course.
said you think about the process of like, well, even if it doesn't work out the way you want, like the cap is going up, et cetera, et cetera. And then you said, but this is the thought process that got Luol Deng and Timothy Mozgov paid the way that they did. And
Yeah.
while Quickly is a better player, you are bang on about that. And Jakob just signed this extension. If the back lingers, man,
Yeah.
then that means if the back lingers, then that means you're probably like that's like 10 less games a year, probably, at
Yeah.
least. Maybe extended periods of time. I don't know. He's not LeBron James. He's not going to Germany. He's not doing all this shit to fix it. Even
Yeah.
though he's Austrian. Well, I mean, maybe he will go to Germany. I don't know. um, but if this doesn't get like sorted out, not only are you looking at like a diminished encore performance, but you're also just not getting the encore performance as much. RJ, you and I thought from the start way too much whinging and complaining about his
Yeah.
contract. The team didn't even give him the vote of confidence. Like he could be off this team this season, man.
Yeah.
And and this isn't me or you being down on his game. Check the receipts. We love RJ. But like
Mhm.
this team contracts, ooh, there's
The
like slippery slope.
it's the scary part of the team if things don't work itself out, because there is no like light at the end of the tunnel where you can try to acquire other players to make the team work. This is the team. They're right up against the cap, so there is nothing they actually can do. It's the only other option. It's either succeed or tear the team down. There is no middle ground in between. There is no like we can find a defensive guard to pair in between some of these guys. The finding the defensive guard is trading one of these guys and trying to figure it out with Scottie. So it's tough. Every single point of that this franchise has pressure to succeed this season. So I think if things go poorly, which I'm not here to hit a red button. They've played 5 games, but if you go into 20 games and they're 8-12, I think you ring the alarm bells and they have to make decisions.
8-12 means that they played what, almost 500 basketball the rest of the way. I think honestly, people would probably feel like okay about that. They'd be like, okay, they played the hard portion. Now, now let's rock and roll. So we're not here to hit the big red button.
No.
We're just here to say that a big red button could be hit
Yes.
in the future. And yeah, as I remember, it was like February of last year talking to Joseph Casharo, and he brought up like Darko could get fired because of this losing streak. And I was like, nah, I don't think he'll get fired because of this. But as we said at the top, there's potential here if it goes nasty enough. And S was saying something like, he looked at their schedule. He said it could be like 1-7, 1-8 type deal. What is their upcoming schedule?
It's
What
brutal. I'll look it up right now. It's the next. They play the Cavs tomorrow.
Yeah.
Cavs, Grizzlies, Bucks, Hawks, Sixers, Nets, Cavs is the next week of games.
Like, here's the thing, man. Giannis is saving the Bucks every game.
Yeah,
I do wonder.
they were in
like,
that game.
Yeah. Is there a fatigue by that point? God, I don't know. But even just because the way they're playing, they beat the hell out of the Hawks. But I see Friday, November 7th, and I wonder to myself, like, can they beat the Hawks? Because they've
Yeah,
just been playing bad. You
yeah,
know, you can get captured by the moment, of course. But also, I mean, man, it's like they're playing bad. It's
yeah.
just been. I'm not sure how to. Dude, they played a game 107 to 105 is what it finished at in the preseason. And then another one 110 to 108, 113, 112. Then this stuff, there hasn't been a game where one team didn't clear 120 yet that they've played in. 138, 118, 122, 116, 139, 129, 121, 103, 139, 121. What are we doing? Let's have a little pride in the product,
Yeah.
man. Let's get some stops. Don't
It's
bang the floor.
it's
But
brutal.
like,
The amount of talking, the amount of emphasis they put on defense from summer league on, from every player that you heard at summer league and who were there, and the pride that they took in defense there, and to see this in the first 5 games is just absolutely brutal.
well, and also like you weren't at training camp, but you obviously saw the trickle down of all the
Yeah,
quotes and everything. Oh, they talked about it at training camp, man.
yeah.
They were talking all the live long day about the damn defensive side of the ball. It's got to change going
Yep.
forward. And I put out that tweet. It was the dog in him 100th percentile, and I was like, I'm trying to see if the Raptors can give me a
Oh.
bit of this. They didn't give me a lick, man. Not a lick. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
The Raptors need to play better. Prayers to everyone out there in Jamaica. Hope everyone and their family is safe, and hopefully the Raptors beat the Cavs tomorrow.
Listen, thank you to everybody for tuning in. I'm, of course, Samson Folk. This is, of course, Trevon Heath. We need a good season from these Raptors because we're going
Please.
twice a week, man. What are we going to talk about on Tuesdays and Thursdays if they're a bad team?
We're one of these days going to be a draft day.
But, you know, we're tweeted at saying that this is therapy for some people. If the Raptors aren't good, I think at least will be a very enjoyable listen along and watch along this season. And you can help support us and help other people watch this and see this by liking, commenting, subscribing, and hyping, all that great stuff. From myself, from Trevon, thank you so much for tuning in. Whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day. Go Jays, and goodbye.
But he's pitching against the Dodgers and making Shohei Ohtani touch the fucking earth.